Court is now back in session. Prosecution, do you have any more witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution now calls Liana Roman to the stand. Hi, Liana. So when Mr. Smith threatened you for your phone password and then searched through your phone so he could finally find the conversation in the group chat, did he let you explain your position and how you have previously decided not to be part of the plan anymore?
No.
Did he suspend you for supposedly being part of the plan of jumping Paula?
Yes.
So now let me show you something, Liana. So here, when a student is involved in a physical altercation of school grounds, the first action that should be taken is a suspension for 2 days out of school, or 1 day out of school suspension with the appropriate restorative steps taken. If that doesn't work, then the second action that should be taken is 3 days out of school suspension, and the third action is 5 days out of school suspension. But if any of them does not work, then you're gonna have to meet with the principal and the CEO. So Liana, did Mr. Smith explain you which one of those would apply to you?
No.
Did he tell you for how long your suspension was going to be?
I asked, but he never got back to me about it.
So that means he ignored this protocol as well as the previous one, right?
Yes.
Why did you decide to go to Mr. Smith's office to report the plan about jumping Paula instead of just staying away from more problems and keeping it to yourself?
Because if I hadn't told Principal Smith, they would have, Jaden and Ariana would have still jumped Paula either way.
Do you feel that Principal Smith failed you as the main school leader when you were not allowed to defend yourself or explain your position?
Can you repeat that?
So, do you feel that Mr. Smith failed you as the main school leader when you were not allowed to defend yourself or explain your position?
Yes.
Why did you refuse at first to give him your phone password?
Because at first I refused because I thought he was just gonna withhold it to ask about just the group chat to convert, but instead he just
What was the reason for why you gave him your phone password so he could search your phone?
because he told me that if I didn't, because I refused the first time and he told me that I didn't again, then he would suspend me and I couldn't take risks for that.
Can you go up, please? The second slide.
Like this one?
No, the second one. All the way up.
All the way up?
Yeah. Here, no, the second one. Here. Okay. Although school officials have broad authority to search students, the searches that are conducted cannot be overly intrusive.
Objection. Your Honor, can I vote to the bench?
This evidence was provided to both of the sides, so I believe this evidence should be disregarded for the jury's thinking because this evidence was not brought to the eyes of the defense. So therefore, I don't think this evidence should be allowed to use in court.
Your Honor, just to clarify the misunderstanding, there is a comment section in the right side of the slide. If you want me, I can show it to you, and it shows the name of the source and what the evidence is showing.
But this wasn't shown to the defense as evidence that we were able to use, so therefore I don't believe it should be evidence we should use in the court.
Well, when you are working in a case, you're supposed to investigate and find evidence, and therefore, when I found this evidence is from a primary source, therefore I'm allowed to use it because it's a trustful source.
Any evidence that you do find, since you labeled it as evidence, it should be shown to both sides, so both sides are aware of what's coming, not your explanation, therefore, just so they could know what it is. Like, for example, testimonies and everything, that's supposed to be known to both sides. So, that's why I don't think this evidence should be allowed.
Well, to be fair, it must have been a true misunderstanding, but she has a good point in not knowing what's to come next. We all know that in court cases, both sides have to be fair and equal with evidence, and I'm pretty sure she didn't have any evidence that she didn't show you. So you may disregard that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Liana, do you feel that he crossed the line when he searched your phone because he was being really intrusive?
Yes.
Did he even ask you to show him the group chat, which is the suspected contact here, before searching through your phone?
I was only asked for the password.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You missed it. And does prosecution intend to call any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution now calls Mr. Bowman to the stand. Hi, Mr. Bowman. Did Mr. Smith ever communicate with you after the suspension of Liana?
No.
Did he ever tell you for how long she was going to be suspended for?
No.
Or the reason she was suspended for?
No.
Okay. Can you go to the bottom again? Oh, Your Honor, may I read it or I'm not allowed to use it anymore? My
Did
evidence.
you show the defense?
No.
I'm sorry, but you can't.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You missed that. Now, does prosecution intend to call any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution now calls Ariana to the stand. Hi, Ariana. Were you immediately called to Mr. Smith's office after he became aware of the plan you formulated with Jaden?
No.
Do you regret the fact that you and Jaden planned to jump Paula?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because I feel like as though this was very unnecessary.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Let me step down. Does prosecution intend to call any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution now calls Jaden Williams to the stand. Hi, Jaden.
Hi.
Were you immediately called to Mr. Smith's office after he became aware of the plan you formulated with Ariana?
No.
Do you regret the fact that you planned to jump Paula with Ariana?
Not really.
Why?
Because I feel like she deserved it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Let me step down. Does prosecution intend to call any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution now calls Mr. Smith to the stand. Mr. Smith, I'm concerned that you keep on saying that you have to take an immediate decision in order to maintain a secure environment around the school. When Liana had told you the exact date the other two girls were planning to jump Paula, which was going to be on April 18, 2023. I'm pretty sure you're aware that something bad happened either way, even if you made an instant decision of suspending Liana and confiscating her phone. And that's because you could have taken the equal and fair path to solve this situation between the board students involved in this conflict. Which leads me to ask you, why didn't you call Ariana and Jaden to your office when they were the main executors of the plan Liana reported to you?
I didn't call them to my office yet because I believe that I had to make a school investigation first before I called them to my office.
Why didn't you suspend them as well as you did with Liana?
I didn't suspend them yet because I didn't get to them yet.
Why?
I was building a school investigation on the evidence that I had from the school.
Why are you saying that you are working towards a secure and safe environment for your school when you're not being fair and blaming all on one student and leaving the other two with no consequence?
Repeat that, please.
Why are you saying that you are working towards a secure and safe environment for your school when you're not being fair by blaming it all on one student and leaving the other two with no consequence?
I did that because Liana, she was a part of the plan. She came forward to me, But she tried to back out last minute even though she was still about to play. But Ariana and Jaden didn't come to my office.
Okay, but you could have called them to the office, but you didn't. Why?
Cause like I said, I was building a school investigation on the evidence. So I was looking at the evidence while I tried to build a school investigation.
When you were looking at the evidence, that evidence did not involve Ariana and Jaden at all?
It did.
So if it did, then you just blame it all on Liana and leave the others to go to Nakano. No further questions, Your Honor.
Does the prosecution intend to call any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution has called Mr. Already to the stand. Mr. Already, if you notice that Mr. Smith was really worried about what could happen to Paula, then why didn't you remind him of the expectations and rules of your own school so he could make sure he was doing the right thing?
I wasn't really paying attention in the moment.
Why did you let him do the wrong thing when you could have prevented?
Because I wasn't part of this.
So you were at the office and you were watching everything that was happening, but you were not paying attention at all.
No.
No further questions.
Does the prosecution intend to call any more witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution has called Ms. Ford to the stand. Good afternoon, Ms. Ford. I completely sympathize with you and I understand how hard you work and that you also have life out of school grounds. But it didn't even take you 5 minutes to pick up your phone from the table and text Mr. Already about a situation you found relevant to talk about. It's clear that you did have the opportunity to do something about the situation, but you just didn't take it. Why?
Oh, well, as I said yesterday, I feel that my students, although they may make mistakes, I feel like, I don't know how to explain it. I wouldn't want to jeopardize their future just because of because honestly, I didn't know if they were joking or not. So when I saw that, I didn't want to report it because I don't want to be the person who messes up what program they want to get into or what high school they want to get into.
So you feel like you could have done anything differently to prevent this situation from going further? So you feel like you could have done anything differently to prevent this situation from going further?
Yeah, I feel like I could have done something differently. Maybe, I could have reported it, but, as I just said, I didn't want to.
If you could go back to the day you heard them talking, would you have reported the plan to the main leader, who is Mr. Smith, on time?
I would have reported it, but I wouldn't have done it. I would have done it at a later time, not right after class. I would have probably done it on my own time when I actually, thought about it.
Now for the question,
Does the prosecution intend to call any more witnesses to the stand?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution now calls Paula Valle to the stand. Hi, Paula. What is your perspective towards the fact that other 2 students were planning to jump you?
It made me I didn't fear it, but it made me sad that because of a game, it went to its limits. It went too far.
Do you think they chose the path of violence instead of the path of communication?
Yes.
Do you think that the education that is being applied in the community of CCSP has something to do with the way the girls reacted to the conflict? Why is that?
Because that was their own.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance. What does education being taught to the students have to do with how they acted? School is here to learn about things that can help you in the future, like reading, poetry, math, science. Nothing to do with how they acted on that day.
as you just said, the school is to teach students how to act in the future, and that also includes attitudes and virtues as honesty, communication.
I don't believe that's a class. I'm pretty sure SEL have stopped in 5th grade, and we do not learn that anymore here at CCSP. And all we do now is social studies, science, art, gym, Spanish, ELA, if I didn't say that, and I believe that's all.
So you believe that the school only teaches about subjects but not about values of life?
No, unless there has been programs that or maybe the school has sponsored that they wanted kids to go to, but maybe some didn't, but I don't believe the school has taught them about such. And if so, it wasn't within the curriculum, so the education shouldn't have to do with such.
Now let me go back to you. Do you think that talking to Mr. Smith right when you heard the girls making fun of you would have made any difference in stopping them from formulating such a plan?
Can you repeat it?
So, do you think that talking to Mr. Smith would have made any difference in stopping them from formulating such a plan? Do you
Yes,
think
I do.
why?
Because when they went there, basically, since they went there, like, I don't really know how to answer that question.
Let me repeat it for you so you can understand it better. So when they heard the girls making fun of you, right? Okay. So do you think that talking to Mr. Smith, like reporting the fact that they were making fun of you, would have made any difference from them to formulating such a plan?
No, I changed my my answer because I think that with or without Liana, Ariana and Jaden would still do that.
Okay, so you feel like if you were going to tell Mr. Smith about the fact that students were making fun of you, that wouldn't have made any difference, like he didn't care.
No, he will care, but like the fact that Ariana and Jaden have that they break the rules will make that they will.
So if you think that it would have made any difference, then why didn't you tell Mr. Smith about the girls making fun of you?
Because I didn't know till he called me to his office.
So you heard from girls making fun of you, but you didn't know.
Yes, I did, but like not until he told me. Like I didn't know that they were making the plan to jump me until he came to the office.
No, I mean the fact that they were making fun of you, not the plan, just the fact that they were calling you nicknames and harsh comments. Why didn't you report that to Mr. Smith?
Because it has been like more like a routine by now, and like I didn't like find any cause like I told them before I told Miss Stokes and they talked with them, but like they didn't really care and decided to continue to do that.
So they didn't care and didn't take any action to stop them. So that's what they.
No, they did call them and talk with the parents, but like they didn't care. The students didn't care and keep continuing to come in.
Now for the question,
Mr. Dow. Does prosecution intend to call any more witnesses to the stand?
No, Your Honor.
Very well then. Prosecution, you may present your rebuttals.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's been a pleasure for me to have every single one of you here today. We value your time and attention throughout this matter, and we also appreciate the fact that you listened to both sides equally and finally made a fair decision. In this session, the opposing side has previously presented deficient evidence to prove their point. During the examinations, the only reasonable cause presented for Mr. Smith to search and confiscate Liana's phone was because of Paolo's safety and to keep a safe environment in the school. But how is that accurate? Liana informed Principal Smith about Ariana's and Jaden's plan 1 day before they planned to jump Paola. Then why didn't Mr. Smith call the other two girls to his office to talk about it and try to solve the problem? Why did he decide to rush the situation and blame it all on Liana? The real reason is because nobody cared. Nobody. Miss Ford didn't report the plan when she initially knew. Mr. O'Grady didn't even try to correct Mr. Smith's actions when he could because he was at the office at the time. And Mr. Smith failed the school by not just violating a student's Fourth Amendment right, but also by ignoring the protocol applied when addressing broken expectations. Additionally, Mr. Smith has testified multiple times that his decision of searching through Liana's phone and suspending her was an instant decision. And just to be clear, when an instant decision is made, it's because you're not considering all the points. That means you're not even thinking about the consequences or outcomes it could have, or even to stop and reflect if you were actually doing the right thing, which is clearly what Mr. Smith did not do, and could have been prevented by only listening to the whole story. Despite the fact that Ariana and Jaden may have always thought negative things about Paula, that does not mean that Liana did too. And let us use this moment to reflect on the people who were surrounded by. They may seem defenseless, but they can actually have a great impact on what you do and what you say, like what happened to my client Liana Roman. However, some other important details to highlight from the examinations is that by the testimonies of the four girls, Jaden, Ariana, Paula, and Liana, we can clearly see that the girls were just being regular teenagers. Liana trying to fit in a group of friends she didn't belong in. Paula trying out in new sports and getting disappointed because of her classmates. Ariana and Jaden acting together in everything and reacting towards a bully situation the wrong way. I'm here to prove that McClellan's Fourth Amendment right was violated, but that does not mean that she's trying to get away with no consequence. She is just screaming for help, and Mr. Smith, being the mature person here, should have protected Liana instead of harming her.
Now, does defense care to present their votes?
Yes, Your Honor. We are all gathered here today solely because Mr. Frankie Roman chose to sue the Community Charter School of Patterson. Now let's think. In all the time the prosecutor, Maria Cepeda, has spoken to my witnesses, nowhere did she mention the violation of Liana's Fourth Amendment being rights. To be more specific, Frankie Roman is suing because the conversation took place in his home. But if something like this is happening, and even if Leon reports it, the principal has to see the message, has to see the messages. And if you were a principal, you would too. You would check the other messages as well, because just think of this. Liana Roman, amazing scholar, no issues on her record, 7th grade representative, a part of student council. So you would wonder, why be friends with such a bad crowd? We all saw how hostile and ignorant the witnesses Jaden Williams and Ariana Fitzpatrick were, just rolling their eyes and just acting as if they didn't care with their short responses and their tones. They seemed like they didn't care the results of what was happening today, like their friends and parents didn't go through so much just to make sure they could get their rights and justice served. But the question is, will they? Mr. Roman could have chose to sue for anything else, like invasion of privacy or unjustified discipline, because his problem is that they suspended Liana even though she reported it. So why not sue for something else besides Fourth Amendment? We can all see here today that Mr. Smith did was probably not the best decision to make in the heat of the moment. But he could have sued for something else, like I said, invasion of privacy or unjustified discipline. It was wrong to suspend Liana for reporting what had happened, but he still did, because she is basically still guilty by association. She was associated with the plan, and therefore she was just guilty. She went along in the plan knowing what was going to happen. She only changed her mind because she understood eventually how far the extent was, and she backed out a day before it was going to happen. She had so much time to think about it, and she backed out the day before. Also, in the student handbook, in the time of the messages, it was written in 10:39 in the morning, or something around the time. If you did not know, that is a violation of the school's handbooks. Students and scholars aren't supposed to have their phones no matter what. They're supposed to be turned in the morning and returned back at dismissal, whether being picked up from Mr. O'Grady or dropped or picked up from the lockbox from your last period teacher. So therefore, not only did they do so much things like bullying and harassing other scholars, they also did violate the student handbook, which could result in a Tier 1 correction, which is a referral home or another consequence. I'm here to tell you that Mr. Smith is a good principal. He thought what he did was right. He did so much things throughout the school year to make sure that the school has improved from what it has been the last few years, and those results have been evident. And also, if you could see Jaden, Liana, and Ariana's faces during yesterday's testimonies, when they testified yesterday, you saw how Liana was smiling just after Paula was crying on the stand. She felt so disheartened that Paula was crying because of the names they were all calling her. Immigrant, border hopper. These girls think it's a joke. They think it's a joke to bully and harass other students. They are cyberbullying on the internet, posting on their Instagram stories about their plans to jump people. This is not okay because this is against the law in New Jersey. I'm sure if another parent would have saw this, they may have pressed charges, especially if it was Paula's parent. Thank God that those circumstances had been taken that far. So, now the jury, I will ask you to return a verdict in honor of Mr. Smith and the school of not guilty, because what he did was justified, and also because what Mr. Frankie Roman is suing does not make sense.
What was the close argument?